$28,000 going to a great cause. Thanks for your company. See you next time on The Chase Australia.
A mother tells of her disgust over her Porsche driver son as a truck driver faces court. Tonight he's accused of killing 4 police officers and his lawyers claim he may be suffering a psychiatric illness. Also a brave stranger's message for a grieving family, how she comforted a dying policewoman. Victoria launches a massive COVID-19 testing blitz as the Andrews government refuses to back down on the lockdown. The rush to sign up for the tracking app, close to 2 million and climbing fast. A stock market shock as the first major profit plunge triggers new warnings. And a wartime mystery solved. The Australian ship discovered nearly 80 years after a deadly torpedo attack.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. A Melbourne mother has opened up on her family's shame and disgust over her Porsche driver's son's involvement in the freeway tragedy that claimed the lives of 4 police. She spoke out as the truck driver accused of killing the officers faced court, his lawyers revealing he may be suffering a psychiatric illness.
Out of hospital and into a jail cell. 4 days after he's alleged to have killed 4 officers, Mahinder Singh Bajwa fronted court. The 47-year-old hid his face as his lawyer claimed the father of 2 may have a lifelong undiagnosed psychiatric illness.
He's genuinely distressed at the consequences of his actions and he's quite saddened by it.
The court was told Bajwa has previously suffered from anxiety and panic attacks, but hasn't been taking his medication. He faces 4 counts of culpable driving, 1 for each officer. It's the most serious driving charge, indicating police believe they can prove reckless or grossly negligent driving, or that drugs or alcohol played a part. Each charge carries a penalty of up to 20 years jail.
And I really hope that this is a salutary lesson for people to understand that everything that they do on our roads will impact on other road users and can have some fatal consequences.
It was made clear there's no connection between Bajwa and Porsche driver Richard Pusey. Pusey's mother has revealed her family's shock and shame, telling 3AW's Neil Mitchell.
We are disgusted, as you can imagine. He doesn't reflect any other member of the family at all in his behaviour.
She revealed the family have been estranged from Pusey for some time.
We were incredibly shocked and deeply ashamed by the events that unfolded.
Offering this to the victims' families.
We extend our deepest heartfelt sympathies to the families, friends and colleagues of the 4 officers that so tragically lost their lives. We feel the same sense of devastation.
Police this morning raided 2 properties at Croydon and Frankston connected to Bajwa's trucking company. What they found there will likely end up part of a brief of evidence so lengthy, prosecutors say they'll need 4 months to compile it. Bajwa will receive psychiatric care behind bars. He'll reappear in October. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
The shattered family of Senior Constable Kevin King, one of the 4 officers killed, has just released a statement. His partner Sharon describes him as a gentle and a kind-hearted man. They say he'll be remembered as a devoted Richmond fan who will be desperately missed by his 3 sons. A brave stranger has revealed how she tried to comfort one of the 4 officers after the crash. The doctor spoke out to send a message to the family of Senior Constable Lynette Taylor after police claimed that Richard Pusey had taunted her in her final minutes.
Her ribbon is a sign of remembrance, but Dr. Amanda Sampson will never forget what she witnessed last Wednesday.
Oh, it's horrendous. Any major car accident scene like that is just absolutely horrendous.
She was driving behind the truck when it hit the 4 police officers.
So many people stopped and did what they could, and we all did what we could.
They tried to help leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor as she lay dying. At the same time, police allege Richard Pusey taunted her with vile remarks.
I have been very distressed hearing the audio tape that had been released in court on Friday. And I felt that people needed to know that Lynette Taylor, that wonderful woman, they weren't the last words she heard, and that all of the officers were treated with dignity and respect as they deserved in that circumstance.
Dr Sampson's kindness has brought comfort to police right around the state, from those at local stations to our top road safety officer.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
As the community mourns, floral shrines continue to grow, but Dr Sampson's real tribute, her actions that terrible night.
Take heart, we're with you, we're all with you, we're grieving with you.
Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
And police have confirmed Richard Pusey did not surrender to detectives. As first revealed by 7 News, the mortgage broker was arrested. Chief Crime Reporter Cameron Bowe has more exclusive details of what really happened. Cam.
Well, Mitch, the 41-year-old was found right here, sitting on that bench in this church garden, just a short distance from his home. Now, police have been looking for Pusey because he'd been reported for showing photos of the crash scene to staff at a chemist on Smith Street, again, just a short distance from this location. The first police to arrive here didn't know that Pusey was the suspect for being the Porsche driver involved in the crash. They were keeping watch at this location until local detectives arrived. They knew the full story. It was the local detectives who made the arrest here. Pusey didn't resist arrest, but he certainly didn't hand himself in, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at Collingwood, thank you. Victoria is set to test 100,000 Victorians in a major COVID-19 testing blitz. It'll run for 2 weeks and there won't be any let-up in lockdown restrictions until it's done, even though other states are already winding them back.
An underground car park becomes part of the new battlefield against coronavirus. As Victoria's curve falls, the focus has moved from intensive care units to testing.
This is the biggest public health testing program that our state has ever seen.
It's a staggering logistical task. Victorian clinics have conducted 104,000 tests since our first case 3 months ago. Now the government wants to do that many in just 2 weeks. Dorovich says its new clinic at Heidelberg is ready to help. Its 5-minute test can deliver results in just 24 hours.
At the moment we're doing around 800 a day, but we've got the capacity to double or triple that.
But the bigger challenge may be getting enough volunteers. The push to test as many as possible comes after weeks of limiting tests, even turning many away.
While 100,000 tests are welcome, it should have happened a month ago and it would have caught a lot more cases had those tests been made available to Victorians earlier.
The government wants to test all health and aged care workers, but anyone with the mildest of symptoms, even a runny nose, is urged to come forward.
If we can really see what's going on in the state, then we can make some really well-informed decisions around what restrictions are lifted, at what time and where.
Western Australia today relaxed some of its rules, allowing gatherings of up to 10, and next weekend Queensland will allow some non-essential trips, including picnics and shopping. But despite Victoria recording just 1 new case overnight, the Premier's ruled out changes here.
We won't be easing any restrictions before the 11th of May.
The Chief Health Officer denies the approach is hardline. He simply wants to prevent any further outbreaks.
I would like us to be in a position where I have absolute confidence that the next steps that we take in lifting restrictions are ones that are not going to get us into trouble.
And the centre of one of Victoria's worst outbreaks, the Albert Road Psychiatric Clinic, has this afternoon been closed. All patients and staff moved out for deep cleaning. This has been linked to 16 cases. Many of the patients have gone home, some have been moved to the Alfred, and we know that many of the staff are now in self-isolation. The hope is that the clinic will reopen as normal when that ends in 2 weeks' time. Mitch.
Laurel Irving at Albert Park, thank you. There's been an overwhelming response to the launch of the government's new COVID-19 tracking app. Blake Johnson has been monitoring the take-up. Blake, it's been very positive.
Peter, the COVID Safe app is fast becoming one of Australia's most popular. We've just had news into the newsroom, 1.9 million downloads in just 24 hours. And while some still have some privacy concerns with the app, health authorities say it is a great weapon to stop the spread. The app that works silently in the background is now front and centre. The federal government wanted it to reach 1 million downloads within 5 days.
We hit the 1 million mark within 5 hours.
But COVID Safe's immediate rise hasn't been without challenges. Startup bugs and questions about security remain. Is there enough information about what and where the information that the app collects is stored?
The IT community needs to actually have time to review it. And that's why it's so surprising the government kept it secret and then dropped it on us suddenly without any warning.
Every minute, the app uses Bluetooth to check for any other phones within 1.5 metres. If so, and if they've been nearby for about 15 minutes, the phones exchange an anonymous ID. If you later test positive, you can choose to share the previous 21 days of your anonymous contacts with the app. Only then is this data uploaded to national storage and provided to relevant state officials so they can contact the people you've been in contact with. Once the pandemic is over, users will be prompted to remove the COVID Safe app. Once it's been deleted, so too goes all the data that it once stored. That's not enough to convince everybody.
This is a free country and I make it my free choice not to do it.
In Singapore, their version has a publicly available source code for developers to check. That's the equivalent of opening the bonnet to have a look at how an engine works. But our version's source code hasn't been released.
What you want to do is to open source the code before you release the app and have the tech community find out, are there security flaws, are there privacy flaws? And then you fix those before you ask millions of people to download it.
Both my wife and I have downloaded it last night, and we think it's a very important tool to actually allow Australia to emerge from the lockdown.
Health Minister Greg Hunt says he's planning new laws to ensure the app's data cannot be used by police or for court orders. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
And coming up later, we'll explain how the app works and what happens if you're diagnosed with coronavirus and what the government will do with your information. In a sign of life starting to return to normal, a growing list of retailers are planning to reopen stores in the next 2 weeks. Estelle Grieping has details. Estelle, well-known shops will be back in business soon.
Well, Mitch, Platypus Shoes and its sister companies, the Athlete's Foot and Hype, are gradually reopening their stores in the lead up to May 11. And here on Swanston Street, Platypus here has already done just that. Now, about 4,500 staff were stood down last month when the parent company Accent Group decided to close all stores due to coronavirus concerns. In the last 2 weeks, a lot of stores have turned into dark stores where staff pick and pack online deliveries for shoppers at home. No doubt the shoe giant will be rethinking some of its bricks and mortar strategy going forward because digital sales have really soared from about $250,000 a day to some days over $1 million. Mitch?
Estelle Grieping in the city, thank you. NAB has shocked the share market by bringing forward bad news. Its profit halved and warnings there's worse to come. It's been swamped with hundreds of thousands of customers asking for help and now needs to build a cash buffer.
A wake-up call for bank investors first thing Monday morning.
Thanks very much for joining me this morning at such short notice.
NAB's results, 10 days early, revealed a 51% slump in first-half profits to $1.3 billion, a dividend cut from 83 cents to 30, and new shares to be sold to raise $3.5 billion. The bank's raising money and setting aside millions more to cover potential losses, releasing dire forecasts for economic growth, jobs and house prices.
And also the feedback from many of our customers.
So far, NAB has taken 650,000 calls for help, deferring 70,000 home and 34,000 business loans. It's also offered lower fees, interest rates and repayments on 1.7 million credit cards and personal loans.
We'll all be hoping that they're just erring on the side of prudence. They absolutely have more information in real time.
Trading is halted. New shares will be sold at $14.15, 8.5% below what you'd have paid last Friday. The share price already down 38% in a year.
Bank shares tumbled today on fears over what this signals for their profits, dividends and maybe their own need to raise more money. Westpac, seen as the most vulnerable, fell the hardest.
News that's come out is certainly worse than the broad expectation.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
Coronavirus hasn't stopped the progress of Melbourne's Metro Tunnel project. The third boring machine is now in place, digging a 1.7 kilometre tunnel between the new Anzac station and the eastern entrance at South Yarra.
We're seeing great work going on each of the work sites to ensure that the workforce continue to do their important work in safe operating conditions.
The fourth machine is set to begin work on the second tunnel from under St Kilda Road in coming weeks. Residents in Melbourne's northwest are worried a local tip could be a dumping ground for toxic soil from the Westgate Tunnel project. Georgia Comensoli is live tonight at Bulla, and Georgia, the locals there are demanding answers.
Mitch, it's been revealed that the Sunbury Road site is one of the tips across Melbourne being considered as a place where toxic, contaminated soil from the Westgate Tunnel project can be taken. And locals on neighbouring farms are becoming increasingly more concerned about what that means for them. Already the site is accepting asbestos materials that is brought in by hundreds of heavy-duty trucks each day. And one concerned resident has dropped leaflets in letterboxes that claims that millions of tonnes of toxic soil could end up here if the Westgate Tunnel project chooses this site. But for the moment, builders will keep that toxic soil at project sites until they get confirmation on where exactly they can take that contaminated material. Mitch.
Georgia Comensoli at Bulla, thank you. Actor Craig McLachlan has had one charge against him dropped, but will still face 13 more of indecent assault. The 54-year-old is accused of assaulting 3 of his co-stars while performing in the Rocky Horror Show. The case will be back in court in November. Tim Watson's here now, and Tim, we have new details on a critical phone hookup relating to footy's return.
That's right, Mitch. AFL boss Gil McLachlan has had a virtual meeting with bosses of all 18 clubs today. Tom Brown will have the inside word on the discussions about quarantine hubs later in sport. Also, we hit the tools and the surf with a dual premiership tiger making the most of life in lockdown. A Melbourne Storm star fined for breaking lockdown laws, and horse racing has been rocked by a betting scandal tonight. More on that a little bit later in sport.
OK, thank you, Tim. We'll see you then. Next, a drunk driver's night to forget. How did a young woman manage to drive across a pedestrian overpass? Also, a 7 News investigation reveals new evidence in a bizarre murder case. Police in a moving tribute to the 4 officers killed in the line of duty in a freeway tragedy. And later, exclusive first pictures of an Australian warship nearly 80 years after it was sunk.
Seven News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realised we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
This is the home that will go down
It's outstanding.
as the best transformation
I've never seen that before, and I loved it.
in House Rules history.
Everything is done to a T.
Who will have
Oh, wow.
the winning room?
I am just trying to remember whether I have ever seen a room better than this. After all of these years, I found it.
The night of reveals you cannot miss. House Rules, tonight 7:30.
Right now, lives like Eva's still depend on regular blood donations. To her, they'll always be an essential service, which is why Lifeblood donor centres are safe and still open. If you're feeling well, book a donation today.
Feed the family with Hungry Jack's new family bundle. Treat yourself with 2 Whoppers, 2 cheeseburgers, 4 small chips, 4 Cokes, 10 nuggets and sauce, only $24.95. Get takeaway, drive-through or delivery at Hungry Jack's.
employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians. Will you fight to save people on their car and home insurance? Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
My perfect bowl is with Mum, of course.
Dad, can you give me some?
Tell me what you think. If I didn't share it with my mum, it would not be my perfect bowl.
Oh.
I want you on my side.
And I want you to help me take him down once and for all.
Would I do absolutely anything to survive? Yes.
Be greedy. Be hungry.
He's not capable of alliance, only destruction.
I am a monster.
All systems have to die eventually.
The brand new season of Billions premieres May 3 only on Stan.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
A young woman has somehow managed to drive her car across a pedestrian rail overpass in Melbourne's southeast. The 21-year-old from Malvern East managed to drive up a ramp at Cannonook station before heading down the other side. Her car ended up wedged on a handrail. She allegedly blew .158. Police are reviewing the cold case murder of a millionaire businessman as a 7 News investigation unearths striking new evidence. Damning details have emerged about the death of Michael Griffey, with the chief suspects coming from his own family.
Michael Griffey's killer has been getting away with murder for 15 years. His distraught sister says enough is enough.
They need to be in jail because at the moment they're living a life of whatever they want to do.
Fresh scrutiny is now being placed on the cold case killing. An investigation by 7 News has gained unprecedented access to those closest to Michael Griffey. Son Kenny has broken his silence to give new insight into his mother, Diane.
She was emotionally violent more than anyone I've known in my life.
The father of 3 suffered a horrific death. In December 2005, he was struck to the head with a blunt weapon in his garage. The 45-year-old's bloodied body lay where he fell for 4 days. During that time, his family hosted a New Year's Eve party.
Yeah, I can't explain that.
Diane Griffey was charged with the murder of her estranged husband. 3 years later, the charges were dropped after her daughter Cassandra claimed to be the killer. It's beyond doubt that the Griffeys' marriage was on the rocks and that they had diabolical financial problems.
All I want is justice for my brother. To see him in that body bag last night, oh gee, that hurt me.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Kim Jong-un is alive and well, according to South Korean officials. Mystery surrounds the whereabouts of the North Korean dictator. He was last seen more than 2 weeks ago, with reports he's gravely ill after heart surgery. South Korea's top security advisor says their position is firm, that Kim is staying at a coastal resort, adding that no suspicious movements have so far been detected. A family's pleading for help to find their father missing from his eastern suburbs home for nearly 24 hours. Peter Crowley left his Surrey Hills house last night. His car's since been found in Balwyn, but a police search has failed to find the 67-year-old retiree. His son says the disappearance is out of character and they're desperate for information on where he could be. The 4 police officers who died in the Eastern Freeway tragedy will be remembered in a special charity event next month. Cassie Zervos is at the TAN this evening. Cassie, police are planning something special.
Mitch, hundreds of officers will pay tribute to their 4 comrades by running 159 kilometres in the Run for Blue event. The kilometres represents the fallen officers' badge numbers when they were sworn in. These current and former police officers have never been more inspired to run. Every step dedicated to each colleague who died last week.
With the Run for Blue event for this month, I'll be thinking definitely about our 4 members that have just recently passed away.
Peter Bellion was diagnosed with PTSD after the Kerang rail disaster.
I went to 20 police member deaths in my time, and you never forget.
Those feelings came flooding back on Wednesday night.
There was a lot of anxiety buzzing around through my system. At the other end, you then get that big dip and you get the emotional side of things where all of a sudden the tears just start coming out.
Linda Herbert left the force with PTSD and has been reliving painful memories.
The sad thing is, events like this week, there will be a ripple effect, not just through Victoria Police members, through all emergency services, civilians, people that have been part of that.
Charlotte Peake met Lynette Taylor in her first weeks in the force.
I'm going to run 159.485 kilometres during May. Each week, 4 weeks in May, will represent each member that we lost.
The distance is the total of the badge numbers for leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor, Senior Constable Kevin King, Constable Joshua Presney and Constable Glenn Humphreys.
It's the best that we can do to help us and to help them and for the families to know that this is what we're doing in memory.
It's not just police taking part in the Run for Blue event. Anyone can sign up and raise money for a cause that's touched so many hearts. Runners taking thousands of steps, but wanting to take one step back.
I wish that we could just take back what happened on Wednesday. I'm so sorry to the families of Lynn, Glenn, Josh and Kevin.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A great idea. Good luck to all. Jane Bunn joins us now for an early look at the weather. And Jane, it turned into a pleasant afternoon.
Richard did indeed. Once it thawed out, there was only a little bit of cloud out there. There was lots of sun shining through. We start the day on 8. That's our coldest morning in the city since early November. Then it reached a top of 18. Not far away, it's been a rather different day. Cloud lingered down at the coast. This is in Inverloch near Phillip Island. So it only reached 16 there and in Torquay as well. There were cold nights in there too. Earlier it was 3 out in Yarra Glen and 6 in much of the west. It is pleasant now, but I'm watching a big weather system that is intensifying as it approaches us. We'll be plunged into winter with gusty winds, bitterly cold temperatures, wintry hail in the cities and snow up in the Alps. I'll have more on that after sport, Mitch.
Oh dear, thank you very much, Jane. The coronavirus pandemic is changing the way we work. Next, the road out, how jobs are changing now and for the future. Full details ahead. Also, a cyclist's brush with death on the Westgate Freeway. What police and banks want you to know about using your credit card in the lockdown. And getting a good night's sleep in the crisis. Expert advice coming up.
Are you ready for takeoff?
Yes, baby.
When you're smiling.
Now that's more like it.
When you're smiling.
I think I'm going to throw up my lasagna.
The whole world smiles with you.
How amazing was that?
Welcome to 2020.
Keep on laughing, keep smiling.
This is what the world has been waiting for.
You're smiling, the whole world.
Get ready. We're celebrating the extraordinary.
That is how you do it.
Brand new Britain's Got Talent. Wednesday, 7:30 on 7.
Hi guys, Luke Mangan here, and I hope you're all safe and sound at home. I've got this amazing baked salmon in a hurry dish for you to try. Baked salmon, curried lentils, coconut veggies. It's a Mangan family favourite. So let's get cooking.
Okay, for the lentils, we need 1 onion, nicely diced, 2 cloves of garlic, finely sliced. Let's start with 2 tablespoons of butter. What I like to do is add the 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That actually prevents the butter from burning. I'm adding the onion and garlic. I'm going to sweat that down, cook it out for a good 2 to 3 minutes. I'm just going to add this curry powder now. Good 2 teaspoons. If you like curry powder, you can always add more. Now, I'm just going to add about 300 grams of yellow split lentils, and now I'm just going to add some fish stock or vegetable stock, whatever you've got. So we're going to bring those lentils to the boil, turn them down to a simmer for about 20 minutes or until they're al dente. If it starts to thicken up a bit too much, you can add a little bit more liquid. Those lentils have been cooking for about 20 minutes. full of flavour. It's a taste of India. If you really want, you could add some fresh herbs, some coriander or something and chop it through. So for the coconut veggies, we've got some leek, broccolini, a few little pieces into 3. Just wash that Asian veg, anything you want, just cut it in half like that, and put that on the plate as well. To cook the coconut veggies, really simple. Splash of olive oil in a pan, and then we're going to throw in the leeks, broccolini, the coconut shreds, and the Chinese veg, and just saute it all up together. And just another step, I'm just going to add a little glass of water, and that'll just help steam the greens. Finished product, my beautiful coconut vegetables. So I've got some nice fresh salmon, about 200 grams. I'm just going to cut it straight down the middle. Next step, good splash of olive oil in a pan, or something you're going to bake this salmon with in the oven, and just lay that salmon just like that. Okay, salmon's got salt and pepper, a little bit of lemon. Want to put it into an oven at about 180 degrees for about 10 minutes. Smells great, looks good. So there you have these beautiful curried lentils. And you just put that on the base, add a few of these nice veggies, beautiful piece of baked salmon. And there you have my amazing baked salmon, curried lentils, and coconut veg.
Drivers on the Westgate Freeway could not believe it when a cyclist decided to ride down the side of the busy road at Yarraville. It left truck drivers fuming. It's not only extremely dangerous, it's illegal for cyclists to ride on freeways in Victoria. Melbourne homeowners could be hit with a new land tax charge. It's just one of a number of measures being looked at as part of the recovery effort from COVID-19. Under the plan, stamp duty would be replaced with an annual land tax calculated on the size and value of a property. While the move would help first home buyers, there would be many people worse off.
Losers are those that are going to stay put in their house for an extended period of time, so lots of families that might remain in their house.
Any change would need to be rolled out with a period of transition so those who've just paid stamp duty aren't slugged twice. With countless workers forced to stay idle at home and some companies unable to find workers they need, a new type of job sharing arrangement is starting to take off. The system designers say it's a way around the unique problems caused by COVID-19 as businesses look for the road out.
It's the workplace wreckage left by COVID-19 when employers can no longer afford to keep skilled staff going.
Where people are moved to other businesses that have unprecedented support, but that's after they've been stood down or let go.
Tim Wormsley is a former Australian Army major, served in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now the veteran has another enemy in his sights, the job devastation left by coronavirus.
This is supporting the job keeper, keeping our businesses strong and them keeping their employees in the business.
Under the scheme, two companies do a deal where a worker from Company A is hired out to Company B. Company B pays the wages as part of a hire fee. The worker works, Company B keeps going, and Company A doesn't have to hire new employees when it recovers. Jonathan Clark's small consultancy used the portal to find a worker literally overnight. He says it would help business and their workers survive COVID.
Saved me about 6 weeks worth of work and God knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Just like working from home, it's an employment practice driven by crisis, but after COVID-19 could well be a lasting approach.
Bench On is negotiating with governments to offer the portal free to up to 250,000 businesses.
It's changing the game.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
It turns out rumours of an illegal dinner party sparking a mass COVID-19 outbreak in Tasmania were wrong. Chief Health Officer Brendan Murphy's comments earlier this month led to a police investigation.
Then we had a cluster of 49 cases in a hospital in Tasmania just over the weekend. Most of them went to an illegal dinner party of medical workers.
But police say there's no evidence healthcare workers gathered for a party. While the number of US cases is nearing 1 million, the death and infection rate continues to fall. But authorities in New York are warning there's a long road ahead.
Social distancing will be with us through the summer.
In other parts of the country, they're just hours away from reopening businesses like restaurants. And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is back at work. He's just spoken at Downing Street.
Good morning. I'm sorry I've been away from my desk for much longer than I would have liked.
Johnson's been out of action for 3 weeks, having spent time in intensive care battling coronavirus. Meanwhile, lockdown restrictions have eased in Spain. The country endured some of Europe's strictest measures. A warning tonight about keeping our credit cards safe. Now, the pinless payment limit has been doubled to $200. The measure was introduced to help stop the spread of coronavirus, but it's feared it could leave us out of pocket.
With a doubling of the tap-and-go limit, there's concerns it'll make our bank cards all the more attractive to thieves.
Only if you lost your card.
At many retailers, you can now make a payment of up to $200 without having to enter a PIN. The idea is to help stop the spread of COVID-19 by reducing the need to touch the terminal.
That's a fantastic idea. If it's got anything to do with keeping people healthy, yeah, fantastic.
I mean, it's not good if somebody steals your card.
But the Australian Payments Network says the change has been well received by retailers and consumer groups. And even with the increased limit, tap-and-go payments are still incredibly secure.
Most fraud is actually discovered by the financial institution, and they'll proactively get in touch with you as a consumer.
And you are protected against unauthorised transactions.
As long as the consumer hasn't done anything wrong, they haven't given their card to someone else or they haven't given their PIN to someone else, then the financial institution takes liability for the transactions as well.
The advice is to still treat your card as if it's cash. The new limit will be in place for 3 months, but will be extended if necessary. Elise Baker, 7 News.
There's been a chilling home invasion in Melbourne's west. Ahead, the victim attacked with a machete. How he escaped. Details coming up. Also, sleeping in the crisis. What works and what doesn't? Expert advice. Woolies teams up with Uber. What it means for shoppers. And first pictures of an Australian wartime ship nearly 80 years after she was sunk.
Harry and Meghan's royal bombshell.
Unthinkable.
The inside story.
So many twists and turns.
A royal rebellion. Premieres Wednesday on 7.
A lot of us are spending more time at home.
Ow.
Using a lot more electricity and internet. Unfortunately, iSelect can't help with your naked partner walking past your big presentation. But we could help shrink those household bills. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect on 13 19 20.
What am I looking forward to? Well, I just really want what I have today.
The more life changes, the more you know what's important. MLC.
Dad, we might need to pick up some more bread.
Dad?
I'll pick some up.
Thanks.
Now, more than ever, we know what families are going through, so you can pick up lots of specials every week. Like chicken schnitzel from the deli, now $1 each. That's better than half price. Find them all in our online catalogue. We want you to always get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
If you've been injured, talk directly to a lawyer, not a call centre. If you don't win, there's no fee. Call Arnold Thomas and Becker, specialising in injury compensation for over 50 years.
We know you've always worked hard for your money. In these uncertain economic times, who do you trust to protect your wealth? Invest with La Trobe Financial, Australia's multi-award-winning wealth manager and leading credit specialist. Trusted by Australians for more than 60 years.
Why don't you come? Pleasure's all mine, never getting old. If you're looking for me, I'll be dancing in my own way.
911, what's your emergency?
The adrenaline-charged show people can't get enough of. New 911, tonight on 7.
A man is in hospital tonight after being attacked by an intruder armed with a machete. Several men broke into the home at Williams Landing. The 37-year-old victim suffered cuts in the attack before he jumped from a balcony window to escape. Detectives are investigating whether the man knew his attackers. Many Victorians are literally losing sleep over the COVID-19 pandemic. We're being warned it could not only affect our well-being but our ability to fight the disease.
Getting a good night's sleep can be challenging at the best of times, and the COVID-19 pandemic is keeping even more Victorians awake at night.
Thousands of people have become unemployed as a result of COVID-19, and financial stress will be having a significant impact on their ability to initiate and maintain sleep.
Sleep is just as important for maintaining our health as diet and exercise.
A really important thing for us to do is to try and get some bright light exposure each day. Bright light in the morning helps to reset our body clock for the night.
Creating new lockdown habits are also key, such as cutting out caffeine intake in the early afternoon, limiting screen time in the evening, taking a warm shower or bath, dimming the lights and ditching the electronics. The experts say getting a good night's sleep can even help fight the virus if you do become a victim.
So it's really important, while we have coronavirus out there with no cure and no vaccine, that we help to support our immune systems by getting an adequate amount of sleep each night.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
It's an unusual partnership in unusual times. Supermarket giant Woolies is teaming up with Uber to try to meet unprecedented demand for home delivery orders. A maximum of 40 items will be packed in-store and picked up by Uber drivers for distribution. After almost 80 years, one of the country's most enduring World War II mysteries has finally been solved. The wreck of a freighter sunk by a Japanese submarine has now been discovered and the watery grave captured on video for the first time.
What's left of the SS Wollumbar, a mangled shipwreck 100 metres below. Grey sharks appearing almost as guardians of this historic site, undiscovered since 1943. Until now. A team of archaeologists who found the wreck finally providing closure for the families of 32 crew members who went down with the ship.
After all of these years from the Second World War, they never had a grave for their loved ones, and today we have that.
Tim Smith led the mission to find the Wollumbar 8 kilometres off Crescent Head on the New South Wales mid-north coast. That's where it was sunk by a Japanese submarine 77 years ago this week. The freighter was carrying cargo from Byron Bay to Sydney.
2 torpedoes jumping at them across the waves obliterated the ship. The bow and stern reared upwards, and the ship went down in 2 minutes flat.
Only 5 people survived. Cecil Radley's family owned the fishing trawler sent to rescue them. His father and brothers on board.
Extremely proud, yes. It's most important, I think, to know that where the wreckage is and know that it's been found.
Wartime secrecy meant the public knew very little about this tragic event at the time. Australians on the home front, not the front line, were under attack. Alex Hart, 7 News.
Sports next with Tim Watson. And Tim, AFL executives held an important phone hookup today.
Mitch, the integrity of the competition was on the agenda. We'll have exclusive details next. Also, the Tigers defender taking to the surf and building plans for another premiership. The Melbourne Storm star in hot water with police going camping during lockdown. And a jockey in strife charged with betting on his own race.
We're all spending so much time in our homes, but this is the chance to really make your home everything you've always wanted it to be.
Oh!
All the inspiration you need is right here on House Rules.
The decorating is great.
Just beautiful.
While these Aussies are doing it for each other, you could be doing it for yourselves. Together, as a family, get inspired by House Rules. Tonight, 7:30 on 7.
Take a moment to experience bliss. Smooth melting Lindor, into a moment of bliss from Lindt.
You need to manage your money from home. Well, we've got you covered. With Bank of Melbourne, you can securely access your money online simply by using our mobile app or internet banking. Meaning you can increase your daily transfer limit, check your balance, and change your PIN securely, all from the comfort of your couch, bed, or beanbag. So whatever your banking needs, we will find a way to help. Bank of Melbourne.
To keep us all safe and to help our health workers, it's vital to know quickly if you've come in contact with someone who has tested positive for coronavirus. It's why we've introduced the COVID Safe app. With your privacy protected by law, COVID Safe keeps a secure note of other users you've been near if you have to go out. So, if they test positive for coronavirus, you'll be notified. It'll help us stop the spread sooner so we can get back to the things we love. Download COVID Safe today. Authorised by the Chief Medical Officer, Canberra.
It's horrible. Shut up and take my money.
Right now, knowing where you stand financially is more important than ever.
But with so many different benefits, rebates and concessions, it can be confusing.
That's why there's Benefits Finder in your CommBank app. In seconds, we can help you find the benefits you may be eligible for.
It's just one of the ways we're doing more things for more people. Together.
Hi, Grandpa.
Are you ready?
Yes.
In the green rolling hills.
It's more important than ever to stay close. And you can with an extra 25 gigs of mobile data. Register via My Telstra app by 30th of June.
Welcome back. Dual Premiership Tiger Nick Vlastuin would totally understand if one of his teammates refused to go into a quarantine hub for family reasons. The star defender is loving life in lockdown, building a house as he builds towards another premiership at Punt Road.
If you're a footballer and a qualified carpenter like Tigers star Nick Vlastuin, the AFL shutdown is the perfect time to build your own house on the Surf Coast.
Bought the land 5 years ago and kind of just started building in December, so it's lined up pretty well. I've just been spending my time down here, going for runs whenever we have to and surfing a little bit and then just working on the tools.
Vlastuin accepts quarantine hubs are needed, but is concerned for players being away from their families.
It'd just be too hard on the families and all that mental health stuff as well, for these hubs to get up and going.
He says he'd understand if one of his teammates refused to play.
100%. Trent Cochin, he's got 3 young kids at home. If his wife can't even just get his mother-in-law around to help her because of these restrictions at the moment, you can't expect Trent to leave for 6-7 weeks to go off in these hubs.
Vlastuin accepts cuts to playing lists are needed.
It's going to have to happen, I think. The industry's lost so much money and we can't keep going at the rate we were, so something's going to give. You do feel for everyone.
And Nick isn't the only Richmond player looking to become a builder once his footy career finishes, with 10 Tigers currently completing carpentry apprenticeships.
Jack Rewalt would be pretty handy. He loves being in charge, so he might boss a few people around and pretend like he knows what he's doing.
And like all good tradies, when the surf's up, it's tools down.
Yeah, this type of month's kind of the best for it. The water's still pretty warm from summer and we're starting to get the swells from off WA.
Sean Sowerby, 7 News.
And on quarantine hubs, club bosses have just held a vital phone hookup. Tom Brown has the inside word. Tom, the integrity issues surrounding these hubs was high on the agenda.
It certainly was, Tim. Momentum's building for a Gold Coast hub, and the AFL boss told clubs they are looking at fixture integrity amongst a raft of issues. It's a 17-round season. A win in theory means more, so would the Gold Coast and Brisbane get an unfair advantage playing in the Queensland hub? I understand the AFL's okay with it. There's no crowds anyway. Both local sides would have to stay in dedicated hotels. They can't go home or use their clubs for recovery. The Lions boss possibly hinting at 2 hubs, Melbourne and Queensland.
Yeah, someone's going to be disadvantaged. I mean, whichever state that they choose to stay in, we'll just wait and see where that goes. But I wouldn't think there'd be any more than 3 hubs. There may well be 2.
Meantime, interesting comments. The Tasmanian Premier has upped the ante on the state's pitch for a dedicated home team.
They should have a national competition in the future, and that Tasmania should have an AFL team at some stage in the future, and for them to consider whether or not some of those outlying clubs that they have poured so much money into are a part of the AFL's future moving forward.
Sources say the virus is actually, unfortunately, a setback for the standalone concept at this stage. The AFL doesn't have any spare money at the moment, Tim, committed very much to the 18 existing sides.
Thanks, Tom. AFLW boss Nicole Livingstone has guaranteed the competition will survive. At a low-key unveiling of this year's All-Australian side, Livingstone declared all 14 teams will remain.
There is no concerns from my point of view or from the AFL's point of view in terms of AFLW being back better than ever in 2021.
The AFLW Best and Fairest winner is being announced tomorrow night. Melbourne Storm's Josh Adukar has been fined by police for breaking strict lockdown laws. The winger went on a camping trip with Rabbitohs star Latrell Mitchell and a group of others on the New South Wales coast, riding motorbikes and shooting a rifle.
Firstly, I'd like to apologise for my actions this weekend. A couple of family members of mine were going through a really tough time at the moment. And I got in contact with Latrell to go out to his private property and try to connect to the culture, to our culture again.
The NRL described the pair's actions as disappointing and unacceptable. Adukar has been fined $1,000 by New South Wales Police for breaking health regulations and is also being investigated for a potential firearms breach. In developing news, leading jockey Ben Melham is facing the prospect of a lengthy suspension after being charged with betting offences, including some on his wife's account. He's facing 7 charges for multiple bets placed between March and September last year. At least one of the bets was on a horse he was riding. And finally tonight, Mitch, I know how much you enjoy these. Brett Ratton has delivered on his dancing video. The St Kilda coach busting a move on TikTok, getting his family involved. He's passed the challenge on to David Teague next year. Rats is desperate.
Next year?
Next week.
Next week.
Next week, sorry about that. I was thinking about next year, if this whole lockdown continues on, how many turns they'll get on the TikTok, the coaches.
Those dancing videos should be next year too, Tim, by the way. Thank you very much. The push for Australians to embrace the COVID-19 tracking app has raised plenty of privacy concerns, but it also has some mobile users, like the elderly, wondering how hard it is to install. Melissa Doyle explains.
It's called COVID Safe and you can get it from the Apple App Store or Google Play. When you download the app, you provide your name, mobile number, postcode and age range. The app uses Bluetooth to recognise other users, noting the date, time, distance and duration of the contact. It does not collect your location. The information is stored for 21 days on a rolling basis. If a user tests positive, health officials can call those who were within 1.5 metres of them for 15 minutes or more. Those contacts can then be advised on testing or isolation. They won't be told who the infected person is. To be effective, the system needs lots of people to use it. The government is hoping for at least a 40% uptake. That is 10 million Australians. Now, some are worried about battery drain using Bluetooth, but experts say the power requirement is negligible. And there are concerns about information being hacked or shared with agencies like the police. But the government says it will be securely stored and encrypted. By law, it can only be accessed for COVID tracing. Any other use is a criminal offence, and you can delete the app at any time. That will delete the information from your phone, although not from central storage. That will be wiped when the pandemic is over.
Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, when does the wintry blast begin?
Well, Mitch, we still have one nice day to go, then we're plunged into winter. The details are next.
You slept with my brother, you covered it up for 20 odd years, and my daughter might be his.
What if he's not my dad?
I'll always be your dad and you'll always be my daughter.
Who is that anyway?
told you to stay away.
Home and Away, weeknights at 7.
Hi, I'm Jo from Westpac, and I'm here to show you how easy it is to set up online banking on your computer. First, type westpac.com.au/register into your browser. Now on this page, select the register button at the right-hand side of the screen. Next, enter your Westpac card details or your customer ID along with your name and date of birth. You'll find your customer ID on your statement. In some cases, you may be asked some security questions to confirm your identity. You'll need to create a password that you'll use to log back into Westpac online banking. Finally, you'll need to confirm or update your email and mobile number. Perfect. You're all set up. If you need any more information, visit westpac.com.au/register. And above all, please stay safe.
Dyson's most powerful intelligent vacuum now comes in a larger format, a 25% wider cleaner head and a 150% bigger bin. Only a Dyson works like a Dyson.
I'd like a bar of chocolate, please.
Your change.
Happy birthday, Mum.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Feed the family with Hungry Jack's new family bundle. Treat yourself with 2 Whoppers, 2 cheeseburgers, 4 small chips, 4 Cokes, 10 nuggets and sauce, only $24.95. Get takeaway, drive-through or delivery at Hungry Jack's.
A lot of people have sensitive teeth, but gum health is really important as well. If you've got sensitive teeth, you should be looking for something to help with the sensitivity, but you should also be thinking about, do I need to look after my gums? Using the new Sensodyne Sensitivity and Gum toothpaste not only deals with sensitivity, it also maintains gum health when used twice a day, every day. I think it's fantastic to have a dual action toothpaste. 2 benefits with the one toothpaste. What a great idea.
At Chemist Warehouse, we'll always have the biggest brands at the lowest prices. So to make it more convenient for you, try our new same-day home delivery service. Simply order online through Click and Collect, call your local store to ask for home delivery, and our team will have your order delivered that day. Get your favourite big brands at the lowest prices from Chemist Warehouse with contact-free home delivery from our house to yours.
This weather report brought to you by Chemist Warehouse. Contact-free home delivery now available. Shop online or in-store today.
Hello again. There was a crisp start to the day ahead of a mostly sunny one in the city. We climbed to a top of 18 after starting the day on just 8 degrees. And it's another cold night ahead. It's already fallen down to just below 12. There were patches of fog in the eastern valleys that lingered until lunchtime. Otherwise, it was a sunny day, apart from a band of cloud over the southwest and southern Gippsland. Over the weekend, much of the state picked up a lot of rain. It was 15 millimetres in the city, mainly before dawn on Sunday morning. Donald in the northwest recorded 40. Warragul picked up 31 millimetres. Now that takes the April total in the city to 111. That's more than double the average, and it follows 4 very wet months. It adds up to 374 millimetres already this year. And interestingly, that is the exact total we saw all through last year. 2020 is off to a very wet start, and there is more to come. A complicated weather system approaches us tomorrow. Now this has a few things. We've got feeds of tropical moisture from both the Indian and Pacific Oceans. There's a deep low that will stall near Tasmania, and in behind it is a surge of cold air. So our weather is about to get very interesting. Tomorrow, another dry day. Then the rain begins at night over the northeast and coming in from the west. We're all wet on Wednesday, but that feed from the Pacific means means there are big falls here in the northeast. We'll take a short break on Thursday, then the cold air pushes through with widespread showers, wintry hail and snow on the hills. It continues on Friday and the snow adds up. The Alps could see 20, even 40 centimetres. Meanwhile, southern and eastern Victoria pounded by wintry hail, strong winds and bitter temperatures. We're looking at huge rainfall totals from this one in everywhere but the far northwest of the state after it slowly eases on the weekend. Around the nation tomorrow, showers are likely for Sydney. It's a top of 24, 23 in Adelaide, showers developing. To Victoria, where it is cold enough for frost at first near the eastern ranges, but then it is sunny and dry for much of the day. Mild to warm tomorrow in breezy northerly winds. Then rain develops in the north and west at night. Closer in, and it's our last nice day for a while. A cool start, then lots of sunshine. The white you can see here shows a bit of high cloud coming in. Winds are northerly, become breezy. City 8 degrees again, rises to 20 under mostly sunny skies. To the 8-day outlook, it begins on Wednesday 19 and that temperature plummets in the afternoon. Here we're looking at 20 to 50 or 60 millimetres, western suburbs, eastern suburbs, until it finally eases later on Sunday, but they're tops of just 13 degrees. 20 tomorrow, lots of sunshine and a big burst of wet weather starting midweek, Mitch.
Could be our last 20 for a while.
It could indeed.
Thank you very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 27th of April. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.